Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Hi, happy Monday.
happy Monday.
Hope you all had a great weekend. So, today we thought we'd do a session on why the why. Okay, so I think, everything that we do, everything that we started, it always comes back to our purpose. Why are we doing what we do? Why do we start our digital business? Why? Yeah, why? Why do we live? You know? So I think this is a very fundamental topic because really, if you don't know your why, you'll just be living day by day without a purpose and just surviving, because there's nothing to look forward to, nothing to strive for. And, I feel like I feel actually very blessed, to live life with purpose. And it is your why that really strives, that really what is that word, passion, you actually makes you passionate about doing something, right? And I think without that drive, without that passion, you just, I don't know, you'd be dragging yourself out of bed every morning, right? So the and I thought we'd share this because I see too many people, I guess too many people living life like, just in survival. It's about work. A lot of people like live their whole life based around work, and they hate their jobs, you know. And I'm like, I just feel like, I don't know, even sometimes when, when we share, when I share, when we talk with friends, and I say, how's your day? And there's a lot of complaints, about their work, their job. It's like the whole world, the life, it revolves around work that they don't enjoy, right? So, yeah, we really want to share with you this because, like, maybe, some of the insights that I have, that I've experienced, and why now, we can really say that we are living out my why, my purpose, right? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think with the business we learning a lot about that. Actually,
Yeah,
the
they talk a lot
business
about why.
they talk about a lot about what's your why, what's your purpose, and they really encourage you to find out because at the end of the day, that is what is gonna drive you to do the business and to do the things that you're passionate about. So I feel also blessed that actually this business has guided us so much to that question of the why, and they teach you even how to find out what it is. So I think in a moment we're gonna share how can you find your why.
Yes, yes. So a little bit about my story, I guess. Before doing this digital business, is I mean, I'm a teacher, right? So I created a software and I also now run a therapy practice, But I think I've shared this before to some of you is that you why I'm still doing what I'm doing in terms of helping kids gain a voice. That was in my heart since I very first started teaching, which was in 2004 or five, and that's never left me. And because why? Because I felt such an injustice, such a, you know, like this just can't be right. Seeing children who can't talk, can't express themselves, and always wonder, like, I question myself, what am I doing? Why am I teaching all these other things when these kids can't even say hello to me? you know. So that why has been such a passion in my heart, and I was able to teach these kids initially how to use visuals, and then from that place, I birthed it birthed into a software. So I learned a lot of things around communication, but that's never left me today. I still feel for these kids, still feel for people who can't talk. It is the biggest injustice that I feel needs to be resolved. Something needs to be done, right? And we need to change mindsets. I feel like people need to know that these kids we're able to give these kids a voice, you know, with tools that are out there. So that's my why for what I'm doing in terms of my software and my therapy practice, and that's a very strong why that's never left me. And now I'm like, hey, why do I do this digital business that we're doing? Hey, I've got my enough on my plate. You know, I could do that other stuff, but you know, I guess our biggest why we did what we're doing in this digital business, is really it came to a point, you know, of struggle. I think our why from this business came from a point of struggle, where since our daughter was born, you know, she was in NICU for 2 months, and then Christina couldn't work due to health issues, and then I was in survival mode, and I wanted to see, you know, my wife really wanted to work. You know, I could see it in Christina. She wanted to work, contribute, and do something, but you know, a traditional ordinary job just didn't fit. You know, she couldn't do it. She couldn't sustain focus in an ordinary fit job. And then Christina, I guess what happened? I guess she started to look for ways. Maybe I'll let
Yeah.
Christina talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I always wanted in my heart to help. I felt like probably regular job was a bit difficult for me, because like Tony said, I was struggling a lot and I was in and out of hospital, so I couldn't really have a regular full-time job. So I think there was a moment that I was just, I don't know, there was a light bulb moment when I just felt like I wanted to do something, but not only go for a job, but do something for ourselves. I think that's when it started birthing in me that desire to build something, to do something. That's when I start trying to find opportunities in the internet about some online opportunities that I can do, and that was my why. My why was that I wanted to not only contribute, but also I was thinking about Tony's business. I felt like if I can also earn some income, I can also help him to move forward that goal that he has to give kids a voice. So I felt very, very motivated, and that really was what driving me. And until this day, the more I know about the business, the more I know about what it's about, the more passionate and driven I felt. I think every day, because one of the things that we learn is that they really focus on sharing and living your why. So that's why I think that was my motivation at that time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I guess we started it, you know, seeing Christina, you know, being able to do this thing. It was like they said, you didn't need any experience for doing it. I think that really motivated her. And for me, it was like, hey, you know, all these things, you know, seeing that Christina, you know, is able to do it, and then also that seeing, hey, it's actually all these skills that I could learn from this business could be applied to my other business, and yeah, that was very, very strong. But anyway, to come back to today, why am I still doing it? Because I could have given up. I guess I could have given up after starting it. I was like, oh no, it's too much, you know. But why do I still doing it? Because I guess my why is, I think my biggest why is now I really see the value. I really see that this business can really help other people, everyday people, like Christina, who couldn't work, and to now start something meaningful, start something with purpose, and that's why I think I'm still doing this today, because I really believe that so many people can just, you know, do something that's basically getting out of that whole that rat race that you're striving that is like, you know, you're just working, you know, for all of your life. And I feel like, you know what, there's more to life than that. There's more to life than struggling so much around work, where you can build something meaningful. But yeah, so I think even before work, I feel like, some people may be questioning what's even the why, the meaning of life. This is the why for what we do in business, right? Why we do what we do. And sometimes, if you have a job that you love, that you wake up every day and you love, then that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, if you got a job that you love and you go and do that, you're not like struggling to get up and just hate your work. There's nothing wrong with just going to work. And but if you don't, then yeah, maybe something needs to be changed, right? Or you need to go back to why did you start this job in the first place? Why is it that you're working in this field in the first place? Because if you forget your why, you lose your passion, right? I think when I was teaching, that was something probably, I was struggled. It was teaching is stressful, right? But I think if you go back to your why, that you're here for the kids, you're here, to bless these kids, then that would drive the rest of your, right, drive what you do. Drive the things what you do, right?
Yeah. And also, I think you have to be intentional. You have to, because I think when you wake up in the morning and you feel down or you feel tired and I don't want to go to work or I don't want to do this, I think you have to always remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing. And I think if, for example, I guess some may wake up and say, well, I don't like what I'm doing. That's not my why. I'm not liking what I'm doing. I don't like. I think you can remind yourself, sometimes God put us in a place for a reason. And sometimes, there will be a promotion in the future. But so try to always find the purpose in things, I think. Because I think God uses everything for your good and He doesn't waste anything. So any experience that you have, anything that you have done, God can use it for your greater purpose. So I think mainly I'm focusing more on the people that probably not feeling motivated because they're doing things that they don't like. And they don't do things that it fills their heart. So I think it's good to maybe very grateful for what you have in the moment, but trust that you're going to be promoted, you're going to be doing what you really like to do, because I know there's so much people in this world doing things that they don't really want to do, that they just go by because they have to pay the bills, because they have children, they have a family. But it's sad sometimes that you're doing things and you just can't seem, you're barely making it on the day. So I think in that way, just know that there's a season for everything. Maybe that's your season. But I think, trust that God will actually open the doors for you to really do whatever, because everyone was born with a purpose, with a plan, with a calling. And I think God will help you fulfill that calling, that purpose that you have.
Yeah.
And so I think that's very important.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah, very true. So yeah, just going back to that is, I think even like before work, before what you do, before your mission even, I think it's always good to reflect back to why you were created in the first place. It's your identity. Because, I think from me is like, I didn't start, my joy in life didn't start with this mission, It didn't start with giving kids a voice, it didn't start there, right? Because I think in the past I always questioned myself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, why am I here? Like, what's my purpose, So I think I only found this when, I guess, I found, I guess when I found God, you know, when I found confidence in God, and I realize now why I do what I'm doing, besides mission, you know, the mission of giving kids a voice, besides the digital business, for me is like, you know what, my main reason is to be loved. My main reason is to be loved by God, because He created me. He just wants to love me, and is to love others, right? So for me to give value to others, to be able to bless others, you know, whatever I've received, I'll freely give, as the Bible says, right? And I think that with this purpose, you know, it's kind of is the foundation to everything that you do, right?
That's true.
And I think without that, you know, you'll even start to question, why am I giving kids a voice? I don't care about this anymore. You know, you start to question these things. You know, even if you're doing something very meaningful, you probably start questioning why, you know. And I think like it's just, I think we're created as human beings. I feel, you know, in my opinion, well, as a Christian, you know, that's the reason why God says in the Bible, what's the greatest commandments? To love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. I actually think that is our purpose. I think it's actually the reason why it's the greatest commandment is because that's the reason why we're made. You know, we're made to be loved by God, and we're also made to love others. And, you know, you ask yourself, why did we give birth to our daughter? Why do we even want children? You know, it's not because, oh, I want my child to be a doctor. You know what I mean? We created a child because out of love, right? Because of love, you know. And now we just want to love her. We don't expect her to be anything, right? To do anything.
That's true.
All we expect is to love her, and that she would grow up with purpose, with value, grow up with joy, and that she can also share and give value to others, you know.
Yeah, I think that's very important what Tony said about the identity. It's true. I think before your mission, you have to know who you are. And when you know who you are, then you can actually do whatever God called you to do, because you are operating out of that identity
Yeah.
of who you are. You are doing things because you know who you are, you know what you're made for, and then you do it. I think it's very difficult if you want to do a mission but you just don't know why you're here, don't know your purpose as a person. It's very difficult to have a mission that really drives you. Like they say, we are human beings, not human doings. So like Tony says, it's not about what we do, but really who we are. And that's a reminder for all of us, because we can fall down in that trap of, you know, doing, achieving your goals, which are very good. But sometimes we do it in order for us to, even the mission, sometimes you do it for the wrong reasons, maybe because we want to get a purpose out of it for what we're doing. But I think it's important to know who you are, and then from that, then you can do the mission or the calling that God's called you to do.
Yes, definitely. So I mean, yeah, saying that, you know, a lot of people have very good intentions. You know, I think you hear a lot of stories where, you know, pastors have great, great motivations. You know, but I think like hearing some stories that, you know, some pastors actually commit suicide because of I don't know why, but, you know, sometimes it gets too much, you know. So I feel like if you don't go back to the foundation that, you know, it's not always about doing, not always about trying to achieve your missions, you know, but it's simply, I don't know, be rested, I don't know, rested in God, just be loved. I think that's your main mission, be loved by God and to love others and give value, right? So, and then anyway, going back to that, I'm just going to share you some stories of, I guess, some people who actually lived out their why. You know, sometimes it could be very simple. It doesn't have to be so meaningful, you know. I think like, I think Patch Adams. Is it Patch Adams?
Who is that?
I can't remember his name, but Patch Adams, I think he came to a purpose where he went to hospitals and just gave humor to sick kids. I think it was Patch Adams. I think there was a movie about it as well. So I hope I'm right. Maybe search for
there
it.
is a
I
movie
don't
about
want to get the name wrong, but I think it's. But he was that was his purpose. He went into the hospital and just cheered up the kids as sick, like dressing up like a clown, and you know what, gave them so much joy, and that's so precious, so valuable, you know. And that's an inspiration. So I can't even think of. There's so many other things.
There's, I think we were listening yesterday to Simon Sinek. He's a speaker, and he has three examples. He has Martin Luther King, who was when there was a problem with, the discrimination and, racism between black people and white people. I think he gave a speech and he was sharing what he believes, how he sees, the war and manage the situation. And yeah, the speaker was saying that, he has a purpose. That's why he was born. That's why he was able. And at that time when he make that speaks of, I have a dream. There was no internet, there was no webs, there was nothing, and you have a lot of people going to Washington to watch them. And he was saying, why is that? Because he has a purpose, he has a way of, he was driven by it. And what the speaker Simon was saying, that people believe what you believe. So the other example is iPhone. He was saying that iPhone,
Apple. Yeah.
Apple, the Apple brand. He was saying, he gave an example, and he was saying that there are three things in a business. There are three things, or in life, is the what you're doing, how you doing, how do you do it, and why do you do it. So he said that most of the business that are not as successful as iPhone, they focus Apple, they focus on the what are you,
and the how.
The what and the how. Why are you doing and how do you do it? But he said that Apple, beyond focusing on what do they do and how do they do it, they focus on the why. Why do they do what they do? And people relate to that, and that's why iPhone became so successful, because
focus on the why.
On the why. And you see, for example, Nike, their logo, their slogan is just do it. There's this motivation of, that speaks to the person, that to people, just do it, just you can do it, you can do this. So it's the why that really.
Yeah, so basically he was saying that people buy into your why. They don't buy into your what. So yeah, that's a very good. This is more focusing on business, right? So a business that if you're doing a business, you actually, if you focus on the what and the how, then you're gonna. Yeah, you're gonna miss the point, miss the mark. So, but if you focus on your why, and you communicate your why, that's what people buy into. And he also mentioned about your brain. Apparently, your brain is structured like that, right? He said that it's structured in a way that people need, like people. How did say? He said that basically it's structured physically, that the why actually is the core, and it would affect the how and the what, something like that. But it's like focus on your why. It communicates to people the way the brain is structured, rather than the what and the how, basically, isn't it?
And I think when your why is really strong, he mentioned another example of the Wright brothers. They were the ones that invented the first ones to create the aeroplanes. And he said that no one really believed in them. No one believed in
They
them.
didn't have the tools.
They didn't have the tools, the resources, the
Apparently,
people.
they compared to another person who had everything.
Everything,
They had
yeah.
the marketing funding. They had everything.
Everything, and they didn't succeed.
Yeah.
But these people, because they were so
They knew their
driven,
why.
they knew the why,
Yeah.
then they succeeded.
They succeeded.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a very good point. So, if you're doing, I think whether you're in work or you're doing a business, it's always go back to your why. I think it's your why that's going to drive you and it's going to make you successful. If you're aiming for, I guess, promotions, go to the why, not how or what you need to do. You can do a great job in the what and the how, but if you're passionate, that makes a difference. Even for my work, I own a business myself, a physical business myself. When I look for my staff members, I actually look for their heart, not that on their ability or skill, right? I look for their passion. Do they? And that leads to a promotion because you know what? I value their passion and their strive more than their ability to do something. Does that make sense? That's
Yeah.
me anyway. I don't know what other employers do, but I value their heart, their passion, their strive, more so than their ability and skill. So,
Very important.
very important. All right. Now let's get back. Let's move on. So hopefully now you understand your the reason why you need to have a why. Okay, and that's not just in business. It's not just work, but it's also in life. Your very reason why you are living, why you're created. You need to know that as well, right? There's a why in everything, right? Why in marriage? If I don't go back to why did I marry in the first place, then I could forget. You can forget. When trials hit and things hit, we can end up having arguments, and things could end very badly if I don't go back to the why. Why did I marry in the first place? What is marriage about? Why is marriage important? Do you know what I mean? So everything in life, there's a why. Go back to your why before you do what you do, right? So hopefully that's makes sense to you. So now let's go back to discovering your why, right? So this is more the why around your mission, right? And so these are some very practical steps. So if you have a pen and paper, write these down. If you want to discover your why. First thing is you reflecting on your past, all right? So think about back then, what are the things that have made you have fulfillment, what made you feel proud? Look at what were the things you were doing, who were you helping, and what difference did it make? So sometimes we just need to go back, go back to the past and think, oh, what was it that really strove me, that really made me get fulfillment? Yeah, so for me it was like back to teaching. What made me fulfilled was when I taught a child to use a visual to communicate with me. And I was like, oh, that was such fulfillment because I gave this child a voice. And the connection that we had when this child knew that I understood him, that was, it was just priceless. So that is something that why I still do what I'm doing. Going back to your past and reflecting, what is it that made you fulfill? So write that down. If you want to share it in the comment below, share it below. What is it? Reflecting back in your past, what's the things that you made you fulfill?
Okay, and the other practical step is identify what breaks your heart. So sometimes they say like if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not a very strong why. Some people, I don't know who
That's
said
very
that.
true. That is very true.
Yeah, so I think just come back to your pain. What really breaks your heart? What is it that you are seeing that, you say, like Tony said, there's injustice, there's things that are happening that are not right. So what really moves you? Can be suffering of the war, can be, how I mean, there's so much happening in the world. So I think most of people that have this of breaking the heart, they are the people that really fight for other people, like
Yeah.
really, give their all for people. So I think knowing what breaks your heart make you a strong why.
Yeah, I think from my experience with that was, there's one moment when I wanted to do so many things and I had a whole list of things. I said, oh, I want to help the poor. I wanted to get a bigger house. I think I had all these missions here, and they were good missions. I wanted to help kids to communicate as well. That was one of them. But I had a whole list, and I didn't know what to do. I was so lost, and that it was only when I gave this list to God. It was during one of the services. I gave it, and during one of the worship songs, gave it to God, and I said, God, I don't know what to do. I'm just overwhelmed, and I submitted it to Him, and then I think God pointed me to a place where I just felt so touched, and I cried. Like Christina said, if the pain doesn't make you cry, what is it?
The why doesn't make you cry.
The why doesn't make you cry, then it's not a strong why, is it? Yeah, so anyway, I cried. I literally cried. Why? Because He pointed back to me and a place where I was in Vietnam, and I saw a girl with disability just being treated like inhuman. People were going, get away, like the child's got a disability, he's got the most purest heart, but people were just, she would walk by and she was like, no, get out, get out. And I just felt, man, I cried for her. And I realized, what, that is where I need to be. I need to give children with disabilities. That's what I'm most passionate about, helping children with disabilities, help them gain a voice, and to let people know that they're valued. They're not just stop treating them like inhuman. They're valued. They may not be able to talk, but they're valued. They're very valuable. So that's a very good point. So anyway, I thought I'd share that because that is something that the why that broke my heart. Next point is pinpoint your strengths and passions. I guess is, what are you naturally good at? What has God given you? What skills have you got? Like we were saying about the Patch Adams, he had a gift of just entertaining comedy humans. So using that humor to help the kids with who are sick. So things that you're naturally good at is actually, can be where your why is, because you're gifted with purpose. So make a list of that. This might be difficult to find, right? It may be difficult to find where your strength and passion is.
Yeah, I think there are probably like personality tests, so you can even ask someone, your friend or someone, to really, if it's hard for you to identify, just ask someone else.
That's true. Your friends or your family will know you best.
Will know you
right?
best. Yeah, and then you can know exactly. Yeah, what's your strength, weakness.
Yeah, and I guess in the Bible it also talks about spiritual gifts. You have a gift of teaching, teach. If you have a gift of faith, what is it? Gift of teaching, gift of giving, even gift of giving, or give wholeheartedly. If you have gift of serving, serve. So sometimes it's not always your little abilities, it's just your heart. If you have a heart to give freely. Serve freely, serve with your heart. So yeah, I think your strengths, but so simple things like that can also be your strength. All right, if there's anyone online and you're hearing this, if this is helping, please put a thumbs up. It would also encourage us to keep going. So another point would be Let me see. Ask yourself this question. This is a very good question. If I had all the money and time in the world, how would I spend my days? That's a very good question. Why? Because sometimes time and money limits us from doing the things that we would like to do, right? So if you have that question, if you had all the time and money in the world, how would you spend? How would you spend your time? That's a very good question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think for me, if I had all the time and money, I would probably, I wouldn't just go, oh, let's go out to an island and spend our time there. I don't think I would do that.
No, me neither.
I'd probably help people who I feel most injustice by, right? So I probably would help those kids with disabilities and those who don't have a voice, and their families as well, right? So because that's something that's, I feel mostly, touched by. What about you?
If I have all the money in the world and all the time of the world, yeah, I think for me, I will. What do I do? I guess I just help people. I think at the moment, I found a lot of purpose in the business. So I think helping people build their own, their own business for the future. Yeah, I think that's something that is staring on in me. Help people that are in very difficult situations. Because sometimes you can give money to people, let's say countries that are poor, you can give money to them, but then they don't know how to create that.
That's very true. Yeah.
So I think to teach them how to do in those countries that are, that probably they don't have the privilege or have, of someone come and teach them how to make a business. But I think that will be something that will drive me.
Instead of giving them the fish, you teach them how to fish.
Fish, yeah.
That's a very good point as well. One of the stories that I read from the book, very famous book, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I always remember this story because, I don't know, it stood out to me because Robert Kiyosaki had a very rich friend who was in real estate, and he said he's got so much money, making so much money from real estate. And then what did he do? He got into network marketing as something on the side. And then why did Robert asked, I think Robert or someone else asked him, but I think Robert did. He said, why did you get into it? You're so rich, you got so much money. Why did you get into this network marketing thing? And then he said actually, it's almost impossible for him to help someone to do what he does, to be so successful in this real estate business, right? But he said that through by doing this network marketing, he's actually able to help everyday people to achieve to achieve, because, and that's why he did it. And he said that in the end, he actually earned, even more money, so much more money from doing this, right? The network marketing. I know a lot of people may disagree with network marketing, but I think if you watch our previous thing, it was like, it's not network marketing is bad. It's the pyramid approach that is bad, right? It's and it's how you do network marketing makes it very uncomfortable for people, but Robert Kiyosaki was saying that, and that's the reason why he did it, because he was able to help everyday people. And that reflected to us as well, it's like, why we're doing this digital business, and really because, it also helps so much. It's everyday people who are going through things, like my wife was going through trials when she couldn't work, right? And is actually helping a lot of people. A little bit more about our business for people who didn't listen to the other thing. Other one is, our business is not like your traditional kind of network marketing where you need to go to people's houses, try to sell to people, meet quotas, and all of that thing. Our business is very flexible, and plus the commission that you get is very high. And do we get commission from selling our things and helping other people sell? Yes, we do. Okay, so maybe you can say that that's a form of network marketing, but for us is like, we don't really see an issue with that. It's almost very similar to your traditional store business without the upfront costs, right? It's like there's this team of people, and McDonald's will franchise. There'll be different levels of franchises, and then from there there'll be different marketers, and yes, does McDonald's get a big portion of the money? Yes, right? So yeah, so it's very the model is very similar, but the way we do it is very ethical, and yes, the rewards are high, but the way we do it is very is not what you like your other kind of type of businesses.
No.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna go back, but if you want to learn more about this, again, check out our website. Go to our website, register for a complimentary webinar, and I will explain a lot more about what we do. So anyway, we sum up here with the last thing about how do you find out your why, is to simply craft a simple statement, right? The simple statement is, I exist to, and then you put down your contribution, so that, and then you put your impact. All right, so I'll give you an example. So it'll be like, I exist to, my contribution would be to inspire and equip others, right, to discover their purpose, so that they live with freedom and passion, right? So that is a statement. Yeah, actually that's a statement that's for our digital business, right?
Yeah,
so so that's a good one. So I think for my therapy business would be like, I exist to help other children to discover their voice, so that the world, so that their personality can be shown to the rest of the world, to them. So it's like there's a reason and purpose in why we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
I think that's about it for me anyway.
Yeah,
What have you got?
I think that's about it. Yeah.
So I really hope you guys can discover your why, right? And you know what? If you already know your why, right? If you already know your why, then you can make sure you remind yourself these. Some simple actions that you can take is just every morning wake up and reflect on your why before you go to work, before you start your day, before you start your business. Reflect 5-10 minutes. What is your why? And just reflect on that, because you want that why to be ingrained in you, to motivate you, and to take actions and steps, right? So that you can achieve your why. If you don't meditate on it, you can lose it. You can kind of go through the day and just go, oh no, what have I done? You haven't done anything. You haven't done anything to achieve your why, right? So it's very important that you know your why and be active if you know your why, right? A vision board may help. So put things on your vision board of your why, so you can look at it in the morning and at night and even through the day. One of the life coaches was saying, I remember, was that it's not that people don't have a vision. Sometimes people have a vision, and that's not the problem. The problem is you don't meditate on that vision throughout the day. So he suggests you look at the vision in the morning and you look at the vision at night, so that vision gets ingrained, so that you can take those actions, right? So having a vision is one thing, but if you don't see it and act on it, live it, you won't do anything about it.
So
right?
Be intentionally with it. Be intentional.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, reflect daily, weekly, and share your why to others. If you have a why already, share it. The more you share it, the more you'll you believe
Will
it.
get into
You
you.
get into it. Get into you. Yeah. So anyway, there's some practical steps. So I think that's about it for us. Anything else, darling?
No, that's good.
So thank you guys for watching. I know we could see someone online right now. You know, if you're online, give us a hello. And I really hope that this topic has helped you. If it hasn't, then YouTube another video on why. How do you find your why? Maybe we haven't encouraged you enough, or we haven't spoken to you enough. But you know, I'm sure there's so many videos on YouTube or whatever that can help you discover your why. All I know is your why is important, right? And if you know your why is important, you do whatever it takes to find your why, right? So that may be listening to what we're saying. It may be doing your own research. It may be asking other people. It may be just watching a few YouTubes. I don't know. But all I know is your why is important, and because that's your vehicle, that's your heart, and that would just make your life joyful, happy, purpose. Live that purpose-driven life that you are called to be. You're created with purpose and value. So I want you to, I guess we want you to live out that why. That's why we're so passionate about this. All right. So discover your why, and hopefully you can. And if you do discover your why, please share with us. You know, we'd be inspired. We'd love to hear your why. And yeah, and that would, you know, like we said before, that's one of the ways where you can live out your why. Just share with others, and share with us. We'd love to hear it. All right.
Okay.
All right. God bless you.
Have a great week.
Have a great day, great week, and I pray for a purpose driven why today. Enjoy your day.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.